My name is Miss Jenny. I'm here with the Southern Food and Beverage Museum, but actually in my own house. And on today's episode of SoFAB Kids, we're going to be making brownies. I'm really excited for today. I know so many of you are brownie fanatics just like me, and we're gonna get going with the mixture, pop it in the oven, and these are specifically ooey gooey brownies, so they're gonna be an extra special treat. Come on and we'll get started. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to have half of a cup of butter. I've already melted it. That's one of the things that makes it extra gooey and ooey. All right, I'm going to scrape out as much as you can. Half of a cup of butter is actually one whole stick. So you just need to melt a stick of butter. It's crazy, that's only how much it goes to. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our sugar. In the recipe below, which you will find, you're going to see that it says superfine sugar. That's because this is a British recipe, and so it's a little bit different, which is also going to explain the measurement in a second. I'm going to need 1 whole cup of sugar. Why hold back, right? Remember to measure over, shake to flatten. Looks like I need a little bit more. Shake it to flatten. And I'm going to pour it all around. It also asks for 1/8 of a cup. Well, we don't really have 1/8 of a cup, so I have a 1/4 cup, and I'm only going to fill it what? Halfway. Absolutely. Here we go. A little more. There we are. Now, the next thing I'm going to need is a cooking oil. This recipe actually is pretty flexible. You can use vegetable oil, you could use a lot of different oils. Today I'm going to use coconut oil for a little extra flavor. I'm only going to need 1 tablespoon though. So I'm going to take my tablespoon in here and carve in. Use my finger, press down. See how it's a little rounded over? I'm going to use my spatula. You could use a knife to scrape off the top, push it down again and flatten it because I want to make sure it's totally full. And then I'm going to carve around the tablespoon to get it flat. Now I'm going to use the pointy end of my spatula to dig in to the tablespoon and get this nice little curve. I'm going to stick that in there. Okay. I'm going to mix these ingredients together first, and then I'm going to go on to the second phase. You can do a whole bunch of different things. You can whisk it by hand. You can stir it with a wooden spoon. I'm going to use my hand blender. This is actually a really easy tool for kids to use. It does go a little fast, so you want to make sure you're kind of putting it in the bowl with them, but it's a way that they can actually do it. I actually prefer using these in my classes as opposed to a KitchenAid, because while KitchenAids are great, not every family has them, but also it's really difficult for kids to actively, hands-on, be a part of it. So I have my handy dandy hand mixer. I'm going to mix it together. Make sure you get the size of the bowl. It's going to look like yellow crystals. And when everything is the same color and consistency, like that, I know we're ready for phase 2. All right. And get this out of the way. Next, I'm going to do my vanilla and my eggs. So this is what we would consider wet ingredients. Even though sugar is technically a dry ingredient, it's going to be wet at first, and then we're going to sift our dry ingredients into it. All right, I need 2 teaspoons. I'm going to do it over the bowl, of course, of vanilla. 1. 2. Now I have 2 large eggs, which makes me think if you have small eggs, because you don't know what eggs are even available in the store right now, Maybe stick in half of another one or even a whole one. Crack it on the side, stick it in there. For those of you who are just beginning to crack eggs, how I like to do it is hold it in my hand like this, almost like you're going to throw a baseball across the field. Hold it like this, use the edge of the bowl and just controlled. Hit and come back. Then you put your thumbs in the middle and put it into the bowl. If you get any little bits of shells from this, because sometimes when we're first starting, the whole shell can explode on us, you can use the big part of the shell to scoop out any of the little chips of shell. All right, now I'm going to mix this all together, then we're going to do our dry ingredients. Make sure to get the edges. I still see a lot of egg yolks in this. You don't want any egg yolks. You don't want to see ribbons of dark orange or yellow. Make sure you get the sides. Sometimes you need to slowly draw your hand mixer out while it's still running in order to be able to get the liquid off of the whatchamacallits. All right, so it's a little bit more on the liquidy side, as you can see, and it's a yellow color. I'm going to put this to the side for a second and turn my attention to our dry ingredients. In this bowl, I'm going to mix the dry ingredients, and then I'm going to put it like this and sift it, shaking it into our wet ingredients. Flour is, of course, our first one. I need half a cup of flour. I'm going to dip it in here, shake it to be flat in the bag. One more. There we go. Pop. Put it right on in. Next, I need a half a cup of cocoa powder. Here's the thing. You're going to want to put your face in this. You're going to want to inhale deeply. You're going to want to take a bunch and put it into your mouth. Don't. Because the thing is, cocoa powder doesn't actually taste that great. This is concentrated chocolate, and it's also called unsweetened. So the chocolate that you would get at in the grocery aisle or at a candy store, that's not what this is going to taste like. That has had sugar added to it. So I'm going to do this over the bowl. You could also get a spoon. Shake it to be even. There's a lot of clumps in here. So I'm going to break that down. Carefully, you don't want an avalanche of chocolate, which I think might be my future. I gotta be careful. Go. All right, there we are. Put it right on in. My final ingredient, that's it, is going to be salt. And I only need 1/4 of a teaspoon for that. So in we go. Remember to measure over the bowl. Ooh, that's too much salt. So because I have some salt that already went in, I'm only going to shake a little bit of this in, and then I'm going to put the rest in my little trash bowl because I don't need it anymore. All right, with my spatula, or if you have a fork or a whisk, you're going to mix the ingredients all together. See the white chunks and the dark brown? I want it all to look a similar color. So I don't see big chunks of flour. It's all going to be kind of a light brown, especially because my cocoa powder has some chunks in it, mainly due to our weather being so humid. I want to break those up so it's easier when I sift it in here. All right. Now this is a tiny bit tricky and you definitely need an adult for this part. We are going to slowly sift this in, but it's a lot of hands and things going on. So it's just me, but I'm an adult, so I can usually handle myself, but you might want to be the person who holds the bowl, or the person who holds the sifter, or the person who holds all the good ingredients. You decide. I'm going to slowly put this in here, and I'm going to shake it Do you see that waterfall of ingredients going in there? Perfect. I'm going to do it again in a second, but first I'm going to mix this. The reason you don't want it all together, you can probably see there's a cloud right now. A cloud of cocoa powder. The sifting makes sure that everything is nice and even when you put it into the mixture. But you also don't want to do it all at once because it's literally a cloud, a dessert cloud. I also have a lot of stuff on the sides of my bowl. You can see the different colors. So I'm going to take my spatula and scrape it in. I want to make sure it's all mixed together. I see a big chunk of white in here, and it needs to be the same color. Put that together. Ooh, okay. Kind of looks like pudding right now. But I still have a whole bunch of chocolate over here, so it's time for round 2. I'm going to stick this in here. Get all the cocoa powder. Then shake, 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 shake. All right. I'm going to take my spatula and kind of push it through to break up these clumps that are in my cocoa powder. It's going to be such a mess to clean up. But that's part of the fun, right? The messiness. Now I'm going to do our last time of blending together before we put it in the pan. Woo! You see this? Like Pigpen. You want to do this at a slow speed because if you did this any faster, what would happen is it would go all the way up. The dirt cloud, the chocolate cloud, really. Oh, wow. Because my whisk can't get all the way to the bottom, I'm going to again scrape the bowl. And then I'm going to flip it into the center. So I push it really hard against so it scrapes it clean, and then fold it into the middle. Make sure all the batter underneath, there's no little bits of oil or egg under there. Flip it to the center. And this is going to be my last time mixing it. It's going to look all the same color. Right now, I can see a lot of chunks of that white stuff, or the light looking stuff like sand. That's cocoa powder. It needs to mix in with the wet stuff that looks like pudding. Ooh, make pretty designs going back and forth. Slowly draw it out so the batter spins into the bowl and not all over you. Now I have my greased pan, so I sprayed this down. I am going to go preheat my oven to 350. You can do that ahead of time, but mine heats incredibly quickly. You're going to want to do this for about cook it for 20 to 25 minutes. This recipe is a little different because it's supposed to be ooey gooey, which means normally when you were doing a cake or brownies, you want to do the knife or the toothpick test. That means you stick it into the middle and you know that it's done and ready to take out when the knife or the toothpick comes out clean. That's not going to be the case with these brownies because they're ooey gooey, so they're going to be a little bit tacky or sticky. So you're going to see some residue. That is okay though, because after 25 minutes, you know for sure that it's cooked and all that flour is safe to eat and those eggs are safe to eat too. Oh, wow. So chocolatey. I'm using the very tip of my spatula to scrape as much clean. Do you see that right there? as possible because I want all the chocolate. I will not deny myself any of this dough. I worked so hard to make it. It's going to go in this pan and then in my mouth. Use your spatula to kind of stir back and forth like this. You want it to be even, and you also want to make sure that you have some dough into the corners like that. So you can use it to guide the dough all around. You also don't want the middle to have a big bump on it because when you're cooking things in the oven, the middle is the last part to cook. You want to make sure to get as much of the dough to the sides and as flat as possible. And that's true with almost anything that you are putting in the oven. Fantastic. Here we go. I'm going to go put this in the oven for about 20 minutes. Check to make sure the middle isn't still liquidy, and then maybe put it in for a little bit more. We'll see you soon when it's time to eat. I don't have an end product to show you for this class. I promise they came out great. You can see from some of the pictures I took during it. I made these for my friend Jillian's birthday, so unfortunately, she ate them all before I was able to snap a picture. We'll see you next time. Like, share, subscribe, and send any comments or questions you have to Jenny, that's JENNIE, at southernfood.org.